Cranial sutures are joints connecting the bones of the skull. These joints are synarthroses, meaning they have no movement. The sutures seen on the skull's anterior include the frontonasal suture, frontozygomatic suture, zygomaticomaxillary suture, and intermaxillary suture. The frontonasal suture links the frontal and nasal bones. If you need a review of the bones of the skull, check out our videos, which are linked in the description. The frontozygomatic suture is found between the frontal bone and the zygomatic bone. The zygomaticomaxillary suture is between the zygomatic and maxilla bones. The intermaxillary suture articulates the two maxilla bones. In addition, children have a suture called the metopic or frontal suture, which runs through the frontal bone. This suture normally disappears by the age of 7, but in rare cases it can persist throughout a person's lifespan. Now we move on to the superior aspect of the skull, which has only one suture, the coronal suture, found between the frontal and parietal bones. Note also that this point, which is the convergence of the sagittal and coronal sutures, is called bregma. Now on to the posterior aspect of the skull. There are two sutures, the sagittal and lambdoid sutures. The sagittal suture is found between the parietal bones, while the lambdoid suture is found between the parietal and occipital bones. The point at which these sutures converge is known as lambda. Now let's look at the sutures on the skull's sides. Here we find 5 sutures: sphenofrontal, sphenoparietal, occipitomastoid, temporozygomatic, and squamous sutures. The sphenofrontal suture articulates the sphenoid and frontal bones. The sphenoparietal suture is between the sphenoid and parietal bones. The occipitomastoid suture connects the occipital bone and the temporal bone's mastoid process. The temporozygomatic suture links the temporal and zygomatic bones, and the squamous suture is between the parietal and temporal bones. Finally, let's check out the sutures on the skull's inferior aspect. There's the petrooccipital, sphenooccipital, median palatine, transverse palatine, and petrotympanic sutures. The petrooccipital suture connects the occipital bone and the petrous part of the temporal bone. The sphenooccipital suture is found between the sphenoid bone and the occipital bone. The median palatine suture runs between the horizontal plates of the palatine bones. The transverse palatine suture runs between the palatine process of the maxillary bone and the palatine bone. Finally, the petrotympanic suture is located between the temporal mandibular joint and the tympanic cavity. Studying anatomy can be hard, but it doesn't have to be. Check out our sponsor, KenHub. They have thousands of high-quality images, hundreds of articles and quizzes, and hundreds of hours of video material. Their website is optimized to make learning fun and easy. For example, video speed is adjustable, and they have transcripts. When doing their quizzes, KenHub helps keep track of your weak spots so you know what to review before your exam. If you're interested, check out our link in the description to get 10% off.